All right, we'll start our workflow by picking a photo we haven't worked on yet from our sunglasses collection. Maybe something down here. How about this one? So here we go. Let's go ahead and just double click on it to open it up. It's going to take as long as possible just because I'm recording. This is nice. Glad I worked on a fast machine. Okay, so here's the image. Let's take a look at what we've got. To me, just looking at it, white balance looks probably a little funky. Let's see what we can do about that. Let's try his shirt that's not a bad look. It's kind of a grayish. It's a black shirt, but it's lit so well. Let's try that. That doesn't look bad right there. Maybe something right in that area looks pretty good. Actually, I think I might have liked this better. But that's the way you do it. I mean, you have to make the call what looks good to you. All right, so let's ink. Now that we've got the white balance set, which I use the white balance eyedropper tool. Remember, if I need to reset back to where I was, I'll look at what we have, 4950 and -7. You just double click, and it sets it back. All right, we double click on the tool itself, but we're going to go to what, 4950 and -7, right? That's what we decided was okay. And -2, -7. So that's what we wound up using with the eyedropper. So that's the white balance. Again, we could have chosen this as a raw file. I could have chosen one of these as a starting point, but I'm pretty fond of the eyedropper tool. All right, so now let's increase the exposure a little bit. He's looking a little bit dark. Let's bring it up just a little bit. Something like that. And that doesn't look bad. I don't have any clipping, but if I took it far enough that I did have some highlight clipping, you see the little red up here, I would use recovery to bring it back. In this case, it's really not necessary. I'm just going to bring the exposure. The exposure looks pretty good somewhere right in there, actually, to me. All right, fill light. Let's see what the fill light will do. Do we need really fill light? I mean, I like the other side of his face being very dark, but maybe just a little bit wouldn't be bad like that. All right, the blacks, let's see what we do for bringing the blacks up. That's bringing up the darkest shadows in the whole image. It doesn't really do much for the image. We're going to leave it back where it was. The brightness is the midtones control. How's that look? It looks all right. Kind of maybe bumped up just a little bit where I'm not going to touch the contrast. Clarity. He's a guy, so we can pump him up a little bit. Let's pump up the image quite a bit. Let's go to clarity and bump that up quite a bit. Let's look at the difference here. Look you can really see it in his hair and in the ears. He can take quite a bit of clarity. He might go above my norm in maybe the 60s. And I don't really need to touch the vibrance. His skin looks pretty good. Let's go and look at the contrast. All right, let me back off a little. So let's look at the contrast. The default setting is probably going to be medium. So let's see what strong would look like. Ooh, strong doesn't look bad. It looks pretty strong. Sorry. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's see what else I might do to this image while I have it here. The sharpening looks pretty good. I might actually raise the sharpening just a little bit. Again, because it's a guy and I can get away with it. I don't need to worry about softening his skin. I can leave the masking pretty much where it's at, and the detail I can actually go a little harsher with him. The noise doesn't work that great, so we're not going to mess with that. What I probably might fix while I'm here is he does have a couple little tiny blemishes that we might be able to address here. He doesn't have much, but right there I might be able to get that just while I'm here. And we'll just kind of click and drag over that. And let's see what else. Well, there's a couple I'm going to have to go to Photoshop for anyway, but at least you can see this in action right here. I'm just clicking and dragging out a couple little spots. If something doesn't look good, I can kind of move it. And that chooses a different sample spot when I move this one. And you can also, of course, move this one or make the circle bigger if you need to, and it resamples, as you can see. And there's another one. Just a couple little things here, nothing too bad. Let me just scroll down. I'm going to hold the space bar to move down. See if there's anything else here. Maybe there's one little one right there. All right, well, there's just a little kind of minor stuff we can do here in Camera Raw. It looks really pretty good. Also, let's go to cropping and take a look at that. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm using Command- on a Mac and Command+ to zoom in and out, and on PC it would be Control- and plus to zoom in and out. Let's grab the crop tool and just crop in a little bit here. I think we can get a better look than what we have. Something a little tighter like that. Cut off his hair just a little bit, which is perfectly fine. And you'll notice there's a bunch of built-in cropping ratios. This is set to the 3:4 cropping ratio. You can choose different cropping ratios if you like, or you can just use normal and drag out any crop ratio you like. If you make a mistake and want to start over, just choose clear crop. All right. So that's basically it. Also, while you're here, if you need to rotate anything, if you need to rotate, just move your cursor outside and it will just let you rotate the image. We don't need to rotate the image, so we'll just leave it. You know, it's very much like Photoshop's built-in cropping tool. All right. So it looks pretty good as is. I don't need to double process him or anything. So I'm just going to click the Open Image button and we'll take it from there. Here we go. So we're opening up, and it's a 12 megapixel high resolution images. There's no excuse for how slow my computer's going, but I was trying to make one. All right. Also, let's zoom in a little so we can see just a little bit better. Have you noticed that when you're working in Photoshop, sometimes like, look, his hair looks over sharpened and jaggy. And even his glasses look kind of jaggy. Look, even like the rim of his glasses looks jaggy. But when you zoom in one, it's perfectly straight and his hair looks fine. Why is that? It's because when you're working in Photoshop, you really want to look at your images at a magnification of like 25% or 50% or 12.5%. If you look at these middle ones like 16.7, 33, and those, the redraw is jaggy. It wants to work at those even multiples, you know, so 100, 50, 25, 12.5, 6.25, that kind of thing. Those are where you're going to actually see what your image looks like. Though it fits on screen better here at 16.7, it does look kind of lame. So we're going to zoom it up just a little bit. What other things might I do here to finish him off? Well, I'd probably do just a tiny bit of retouching up here, and I might actually add a little more detail to his hair. So let's back off so we can see that. Let's duplicate the layer, switch to screen mode like you saw me do earlier. All right, hold the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on PC, and we're going to click there. Hey, let me hide the other junk here. Let me just choose Hide Others so we don't see the distracting bridge back there. And now I can get the paintbrush tool. I can paint in white. Let's go see if I can switch it to white. And let's make our brush size bigger. I'm using the bracket keys on my keyboard to make the brush bigger. And let's just bring in a little bit more light into his hair over here and a little bit on the other side. Then we can back it off using the opacity and kind of get it just to where we like it. Let me back off one more so we can really see what it looks like. Yeah, maybe something like that. So just a little bit added there in his hair, just like that. And let's take a look if I want to add anywhere else while I've got him here. Let's see how it would look if I added a little bit to his glasses up here. Does that do anything at all? Not enough to worry about. Just a little tiny bit. It doesn't hurt anything. All right. So I'm pretty good with what we have there. We're going to go ahead and you can either flatten the image at this point if you want, or you can just retouch right on the masked version of the image. Or there's a keyboard shortcut. If you want to keep all this stuff intact but still work on a flattened version, check out this keyboard shortcut. On Mac, it's Shift, Option, Command, E. On PC, it's Shift, Alt, Control, E. And it creates a flattened version of your image right up top here. So now we can go in and let's use the healing brush and get rid of a couple of these other little tiny blemishes. There's just a few here and there, but everyone's going to have them. So let's just take a moment. You want to Option click in a nearby area and then click to fix that. And I'm not doing a good job there. It looks pretty ratty. So I think I made things worse. Let's undo those steps. All right. And let's click in a more representative area of what's really there. It's ideal to make your brush just a little bit bigger and then just click. That's better. We kind of fixed that a little bit up. And just get some of these areas. That's kind of ratty. There we go. Click in the area of the same texture. You don't have to be the exact same color, but the same texture is good. And let's see. His nose has got a little tiny thing there. And I think it's a wart. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's go up here. He has these couple little areas. Let's see if we can just pull that off right there. That's not too bad considering we're using the healing brush instead of the clone stamp. Not bad, just a couple little minor things here. With guys, I don't worry about it too much. Rugged men like they are. Okay, and maybe a couple little things down here. But overall, he looks pretty darn good. All right. So the things that I would do that I might do left here is, actually now that I'm looking at the image, is it just me or does he look a little bright over here? Does it look a little bright to you? If it looks a little bright, here's what we can do. Let's try another little way to fix. Let's go to levels. Let's bring up levels. All right. So this darkens the shadows, this controls the midtones, and this controls the highlights. So let's see if we darken the midtones a little bit so his face isn't quite so bright. Then click OK. Now, of course, that affected the whole image, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to press Command I on Mac, Control I on PC to hide that behind a black mask. then we can kind of go in here and just darken just that area just a little bit so it doesn't look so bright and distracting. You know what, his ear really lit too. That wasn't a good lighting job there on my part. And then you notice how it made his face a little redder though. So what you're going to do is you're going to change the mode from normal to luminosity. And there you don't get that redness. Notice how that changed there? Wasn't that sweet? All right, so now you can just kind of dial this in. But I think we've done a lot to kind of fix that area up. Let's take a look at the whole image. Now, you heard me talk earlier. Now I'm okay with where we are. You heard me talk, I'm going to merge those two together. You heard me talk earlier about, his neck is very well lit and for no main reason. His face is the focus. The eyeglass is what we're trying to sell. His neck is lit. So let's do that trick that we did earlier. Let's go ahead and go to levels again. This time we're going to darken the image. This will darken it down and this will darken it down, right? So that kind of darkens those areas. This one over here, if you drag it, will really darken it up. There we go. All right, now press Command-I on Mac, Control-I on PC to hide the darker version behind the mask. Let's go grab the gradient tool, and I wonder which way I drag. How about from top to bottom? There we go. Now I don't think that was a very good drag. Let's undo that by pressing Command-Z on Mac or Control-Z on PC. See if we can come up with something a little bit better. That's a little better. There we go. Oh, don't forget to switch your mode to luminosity. Ooh, that looks just dreadful. Look what that did. It made his neck red. I've never seen that before, but that just tells me to switch back to normal. I like that for on-the-fly editing. Let's just lower this a little bit. There we go. So it's just not so bright. Now, this is a mask, so if you think, well, it's not really, the gradient isn't working exactly like I want it to, you can go in here and paint to make it darker. So we could just kind of darken that up a little bit, but then make sure that his chin, by switching to black, that his chin is perfectly bright. So now it is darkened just in the areas we want it to be. And you could even bring back a little of that chin there if you wanted, just a little bit. That looks better before. There we go. All right, so you can see the difference, how we've been able to darken that part of the image down. It's probably a little too dark, wouldn't you agree? Maybe something like that. So I just want the focus up on his face and not so bright down there. There we go. So we've gotten that done. And if I was going to print this at this point, what I'd probably do is let's go ahead and it's time for sharpening. So let's flatten the image. Let's go ahead and apply our sharpening. Now, we built a sharpening action, right, on Sharp Mask with high. So just press play or press your keyboard shortcut, whatever keyboard shortcut you want to assign to it. And there we've got some nice sharpening, and of course it automatically, I just clicked on the action and hit the play button there, and it automatically does all the fade and unsharp mask stuff for us, so it looks really pretty good. If I was going to print this though, I'm not sure if it's really crunchy enough for print that I think it could really go a little bit more. So let's go ahead, I want to run that filter again. I'm going to go ahead and run unsharp mask one more time. Let's pump it up a little bit. Let's see what that looks like. Well, let's see. Let me undo it and then redo. I'm pressing Command. Oh yeah, you can see in his hair. Command-Z. On PC would be Control-Z. I'm going back and forth from undo to redo. Yeah, it's looking a little over-sharpened in his hair and maybe a little over-sharpened in some of these areas, which means when it prints, it's going to be just right. So now that we've basically prepared it for print, let's go ahead. And now, again, if we're going to the web, I wouldn't have added that second sharpening. Now let's go to print. Let's say, should this be wide or tall? It should be tall, but it's too big to fit on the paper, so we're going to scale to fit the media. Alrighty. Then we're going to go over here. We're going to have Photoshop manage the colors. We're going to print to our, we're not going to be able to print to this 3800. We don't have it connected, so let's go to Premium Luster and print to our Premium Luster. Now, did you see how the profile changed? That's because we have the profile color management turned on that tries to approximate how it's going to look when you print. It does approximate, but not so much. I mean, not so great. Now, over here, we already have relative colorimetric chosen. We've just chosen the paper we're printing on now, which is Premium Luster on an R800. And we're ready to print. You hit print. Brings up this dialog box. You have to choose two things. Make sure that your color management is set to off. Make sure in your print settings that you've chosen the Premium Luster photo paper, which is where we're printing to. Best photo. Hit off and hit print. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's the whole process from the moment of bringing it in to taking it out. Let's just do one more before we finish up. Let's take one of the female shots from the sunglass shoot and run it through the same process and see what challenges or obstacles we run into there.